Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. If you don't know who I am, my name is Bella Simone and this is a personal development channel for Black women. I thought I would just add that in there because I think I trailed off a little bit with my content and I wasn't really focusing on what I initially started the channel for. So this is a channel for personal development, and of course we do other things here. I do story times. I've done story times with my mother that were very interesting, and I like to talk about hypergamy. I post some of my trips and blah blah blah, but essentially this is a personal development channel for Black women. So thank you for joining me, you guys. I've had like a very interesting couple of weeks. I took, you know, some time off the channel. Of course I wasn't posting any content, but yeah, but I have a couple of notes and some of the thoughts that I had in the past couple of weeks, because I think my mental health did take a bit of a dip, and then I was just trying to get into my mind and try to figure out what was going on with me. And this was also happening around the time of the Mercury retrograde. Hey, what a word. Mercury retrograde. So I think, you know, that also had something to do with a lot of the triggers that were coming up, and that's why I'm saying that my mental health was, but bitch, how the mobile pillow is going down, you know, now it's going up. Okay, so now bitch is up, yo. Listen, so in today's video I want to talk about identity shifting, and I'm talking about identity shifting because it has a lot to do with why I'm saying my mental health took a dip. You know, I was on this like high of you know, getting into an identity shift and trying to reinvent myself. And, you know, I was going to the gym and I was eating healthier. I lost like a little bit of weight, but I was just like making healthier choices for my life. And I was just like on a high and feeling like, yeah, I can do this. This is what I want to do. Now I want to do this and I want to, and then after, for some reason, you know, I was just like, you know, it just went downhill, and I just felt, you know, not as excited as I was feeling in the beginning to go to the gym, not as excited about creating content, not as excited about just like a lot of things. Like I just basically lost like my drive and my excitement, and I just like was like, oh my god, it's the anxiety thing again, it's kicking in, blah blah blah. And I actually noticed something. I actually realized something, you know, over the past couple of days of trying to put my thoughts together, is that my ego, you know, my identity was fighting for itself. And I'm saying this because when you try to reinvent yourself, or when you're doing an identity shift, obviously the old you that knows you as the habits that you are, when you're trying to go against that, you know, your ego starts to purge, or starts to attach itself and be like, no, I don't want to do this. This is not me. This is not what I do. This is, you know what I mean? And I think that's literally what was happening at the time. And now I'm realizing, and now I'm excited that at least I understand what was going on, because I literally was just like beating myself up about it and just like, why don't I want to do these things? I was so excited. Like, where's my drive? Where's my passion? You know what I mean? But I am so excited to share this with you guys. So I have a couple of notes here, and one of, you know, I had like a lot of things that I was scribbling down and, you know, putting together my thoughts. You know, when you're meditating and you make revelations about certain things, and I understand that meditating sounds like a very intimidating concept, which it kind of is, because it's difficult. Meditation is very, very difficult, guys, and I'm not gonna lie to you and act like I'm the spiritual queen that's meditating every day. Oh, I'm so zen, my thoughts, blah blah blah. No, I'm not that type of person. I struggle a lot with just even, you know, doing my basic spiritual practices. But the one thing that I try to do as often as possible is journal, because so many things come up. And listen, if you watch this channel and you don't have a journal yet, like, why are you watching the channel? So anyway, journaling, guys, is the most important thing to me. Because yeah, and I have like a bunch of different diaries or journals for different things. So here today, actually, I had this thought. I was like, I wanted to open this video by saying that a lot of people won't let go of their narrative, because what else would they be to identify with? And now that I mention, you know, meditation, I think the purpose of meditation is to show you that you're not your thoughts. You're not the ego. You're not the incessant chittering voice that's always going, yeah, this is nice, this is bad, I hate him, he hates me, I'm fat, am I skinny today, what's going on? That voice that doesn't stop, and we identify with it and we think that's who we are. We're not that voice. No, you're the consciousness that observes the voice. So the voice is not you. So you can't be in your head about things. And this is why people, you know, tend to just be like, ngati, as tatigash, and not in a type of way, but just like people who just like over-identify with their ego. And I understand that, you know, you cannot really identity shift while you're still identified with your ego, because you think your ego is you. If you're identified with that voice, obviously it's difficult for you to then say, I can actually be something else. You know what I mean? So the ego needs identification. When you know you are not the ego, but the observer, you can change as you please, because you know that this is just the persona, or just, you know, what your ego self is trying to identify itself as. And this is why you go through different stages, right? So I wrote a couple of notes of how we play personas in society according to where we are and, you know, what we're trying to get or achieve at that certain time. Obviously, the person that you are as a girlfriend and the person that you are as a wife is not the same person that you are as a friend, is not the same person that you are when you're alone. And does this mean that you have an identity crisis? No, it just means that you're playing different personas according to what role you have at that given moment. So it's something like that, where you reinventing yourself is you just choosing which persona you want to be now, okay? And I think a lot of people hold on to this idea of who they are because it's like, no, you know, I'm not this type of person. I'm not the type of person to change. I'm not the type of person to do this. And this is why you always get the same things in your life. You can't be doing the same things over and over again and, you know, you're expecting to get different results. If you're trying to change your life and you're like, you know what, I want to be like those ladies that do this and this and this, find out what those ladies do in their day-to-day and play the person, you know? And it's so fun, because I think that, like, as people, we're losing the essence of how fun it is to be a human being and mimic the things that are around us. Look at how children learn things. Children learn by mimicking, right? Children watch us walk and they're like, oh, okay, so at some point I have to start walking. I have to walk because this is what these people are doing. I have to learn how to speak, you know? So that's why when you're teaching a child how to speak, you teach them mama and they go mama, because they're mimicking you. They're not going to say, oh, this and that, or apple when you say mama, right? Unless, I don't know, they're geniuses or whatever. The nice thing is, when you look at your life like this, you can see how you can just train yourself to become what you want to become, and nothing is like above and beyond you. And, you know, when I started the video, obviously I did say that, like, my ego was trying to hold on to what it knows, because that's how it is, you know? The ego wants to identify, the ego wants a narrative, it wants a story, and that's why so many people go throughout their lives repeating a story about how they were hurt, repeating a story about how they grew up poor, repeating a story about, oh, we never changed, this is how we do things at home, and this is who I will become, because you want a narrative and your ego is holding on to that. But once you decide what to make of that information, of those experiences, you basically become an alchemist, because you can change, you know, energy, whatever energy that life gave you, you can change it, okay? And I just want to mention how we also just inherit fears, you know, we inherit fears from even just in our DNA. DNA holds memory, right? And that's why Africans believe in their ancestors. Actually, it's a very scientific and philosophical reason why we believe in our ancestors. But if you don't, that's also okay. But either way, it's a fact that DNA replicates and DNA holds memory. And that's why sometimes, you know, you will resemble, you know, an ancestor of yours that you never even met, or like a great grandfather or whatever. For example, my grandmother always tells me that, you know, I have the same mannerisms as my grandfather on my father's side. You know, we have the same kind of look and whatever. And my grandmother on my father's side, you know, passed when I was like 5. So I don't really have a memory of her. But, you know, there's so many things where I do something and my mom is like, oh my God, this is literally what your grandmother used to do. So DNA holds memory like that. So once we understand that there are a lot of things, our mannerisms and our fears, that we are just, you know, acting out because, you know, DNA replicated itself like that, it holds memory. And I think the fascinating thing about that as well is that it shows that whatever I choose to do in my lifetime can replicate, you know, in my DNA with my children or my great-grandchildren. So me changing certain things or certain habits and kind of like purging out the things that I don't think serve my, you know, my legacy or serve my bloodline can be removed just by me, just by realizing that, oh, okay, cool. Like, for example, my mom used to journal a lot when she was young, and for some reason I took up journaling, you know, and I took it to another level where I realized that, oh, there's so much power in the things that I write down, because now I have an interest in, you know, the law of vibration, law of, you know, assumption, and law of attraction and things like that. And I've built my life through that. Literally, I've built my life on the law of attraction and the law of vibration. And I've built my life in a way where I've realized what I needed to do to have the life I want, or to become the person I want to be. Of course, I'm still becoming this person. Hence, I am constantly reinventing myself, you know. I'm in the middle of a reinvention now, and it's so fun for me. Like, I'm literally like, okay, cool. I am in my 30s and I'm so excited. Let me see what I can do. I also don't want to be this person who's like, oh, I'm this grown and old and nah, nah, nah. And I don't like to hold age in that concept of saying like, I'm so old and this needs to happen, and you know, now I need to be the serious person, and now I need to wear blouses and stuff like but yeah, I think you get what I'm saying. But you know, mentioning that as well, you know, with the whole thing of being triggered for the past couple of weeks, I realized so many fears that I didn't even know were there. Like, so many things that I didn't even know existed within me. I realized that I did have this concept of kind of being scared of getting older and feeling like I'm losing my personality and I'm losing being the cool girl that I've always been. Like, I've always been kind of like, you know, I don't know, like, I've always kind of been like a cool girl. Like, I listen to hip hop, I have tattoos and all these things, if that's what a cool girl is. But also, I've just been having kind of like this crisis where I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm getting older. And I think I also have this because I'm having a lot of trouble kind of placing myself as, you know, a 30-year-old single Black woman, single as in not married, but, you know, single Black woman with no children, and watching kind of like my friends move into kind of like a more structured life of being married with children and whatever. But also, who am I to say that my life doesn't have any structure just because I ain't married to nobody and I ain't nobody's mother? But this is how we also deem ourselves, because that's another persona that you now have to move into when you're at a certain age. You're in your late 20s, this is what's expected of you. You are in your early 30s, this is what's expected of you. And a lot of these expectations, of course, we play the person. We want to play the person because, again, the ego needs to identify, and then ego needs to identify with an idea that already has foundation and is already there. So if you move that way, obviously you're going to feel intimidated, because the essence of humanity is community and feeling like you're a part of, you know, something bigger than you, right? One of the most important things about identity shifting is that you lose the narrative. Lose your story. Lose your story. Yes, you are sad and you were poor, you grow up hard, and yeah, they kicked you when you were 4. But you have to lose the story. And I understand that it's not an easy thing, which is why I advocate for like therapy. Even me, myself, I've realized that I need a lot of therapy. So I will be getting therapy soon. And, you know, shadow work, of course, and, you know, meditation, like I said, because then you realize if you don't really know how to get into meditation, you can do the guided meditations on YouTube. Start with like 5 minutes, and then from there you will, you know, progress into other levels. I hear that Joe Dispenza also has like a lot of good meditation, so you can check that out. And of course, reading. Like reading, I really believe in reading, guys. Like reading is, I literally realized that I built my life on reading, because had I not gathered information, I would not be shit. And I don't want to lie to you, because I don't have like a real, like I'm a college dropout, for example, but I know that I'm an eloquent and smart person, and I can hold my own in conversations, and I date men that are really, really like smart and they're moneyed, because I read a lot, you know what I mean? And that's part of the reason why I think that identity shifting is so beautiful. I identity shifted into the person that I wanted to be, because I've always wanted to be a hypergamous person, right? I always knew I wanted to date up. I always knew that I wanted to date men with money. And I thought to myself, how do I become the type of person that would hold my own in a conversation with that type of man for that man to take me seriously? And I identity shifted into the version of myself that would, you know, be able to be with that person. And that came with changing my look, and that came with changing certain things. And I know a lot of people, when you hear someone say, oh, you know, I changed my look and I became more like this, or I dressed more like this, people are like, oh, you lost the essence of who you are. You lost yourself because you wanted to do this. I don't really believe in like a self to lose. You know what I mean? Because like I said, there's just the ego identifying itself with something. I can't say I lost the township balisa when I moved to the suburbs, because it's like, these are two different environments and they require two different personas. You know what I mean? That's why when I'm here, there are different rules to where I was. So wherever you want to move to in life, there are different rules to where you are. I remember I used to make this example to my mother. I would tell her the power of the tongue, and I'd be like, listen, I know there are certain things you say and you know that you're joking, but the universe doesn't. And there's a time, and she knows this, you're watching, I know you know this, I've said this to you, mommy. And you know, there's a time that she says to me, she's like, no, but I'm just joking, so we'll never be able to joke. And I'm like, yes, I understand, but like, if you get into a certain environment, and this is the environment of energy, the earth planet, this dimension is the environment of energy. So the rules of this place are the rules and the laws of this place, because it's the same thing. If you get into a club and they tell you no caps allowed, are you telling me that you can't just take off your cap so you can go have a good time in that club just because you're like, this is my identity, I'm holding on to this? But it's like, it's different rules for different places. And that's why one of the rules of this universe or this dimension that we live in is that you have to be careful about your thoughts and the things that you say. So in every, you know, level of life, there are certain things that you can do. You can't go to a space and then you're dancing on tables when it's not allowed, but you want to be that person that dances on tables because you're so identified with that person and you think this is you. It's not who you are. You're choosing to be that person. At every moment, we're choosing who we are. Okay. So a lot of people that like to come at, especially the hypergamy girls, I see they come for us and they're like, yeah, hypergamy girls, how can you tell people that you need to be more feminine? Like, it's just an identity shift. You're just reinventing yourself. If you don't feel like you want to because you're holding on to an identity, and that identity is just made up of like random habits, some of them you're picking up from somewhere else. I mean, look at like people, if you watch the Kardashians for like a whole week, you start to talk like them. But you're not a Kardashian. Like, you start to talk like them because you've been watching this so many times, and then you start saying, yeah, Bible, you know, stuff like that. And people know what I'm talking about. So for you to over-identify with saying that I would never do this, then it's fine. You're holding on to, you know, an egoic self, which is just like the social persona. And if you don't believe me, and it sounds like a bunch of bullshit, philosophers studied this thing. Even Carl Jung said it himself. He knows what the social persona is. And he even talks about integrating, you know, the shadow aspects of the persona to kind of like get ahead in life, where, you know, you have the dark. And if you're a highly competitive person, you can use that highly competitive streak in your personality to go ahead in certain things. So not all the dark aspects of your personality are bad, and the good aspects of your personality, of course, are good, but never over identify with those things. You know, I also just don't like to argue with people on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people come for me on TikTok for some of my content. I don't like to argue with them, because I understand if I'm arguing with them, it's kind of like I'm also trying to prove myself, or I feel like the identity is threatened, right? But also I understand that this identity is just like, it's like an avatar. You are I'm the consciousness in this body. So someone can easily disagree with me and have valid points, because your reality is your reality, right? If you say to yourself, and I see this a lot where people say, you know, the rich guys are so abusive. They're going to keep saying that, and they're going to keep watching Tyler Perry movies to prove to themselves that rich men are abusive. And then me, I'm very scared of a broke man, because I just feel like they fake humble. Anyway, so if you are going to get into identity shifting, send me a message. Tell me what you want to do. Tell me what you're trying to attract into your life. I'm trying to get to the next level of just like my personhood and just like see how much more I can become. And that's why I'm doing the identity shifting. So you guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope it made sense. I think I was just rambling a lot, but I'm also excited to just like be back creating content for you guys. And I'm so excited that like I got my creative streak back, because I've really been feeling just like creatively, it was just not giving. It was not giving. But we are back, and thank you for watching up until now. If you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. I am sure the next videos will make sense. If it doesn't make sense, if there's certain things that I said in this video and you're like, what do you mean? Send me a message. Message me, DM me on Instagram. Here's my handle right here. DM me and I will explain to you.